It's a Wednesday, and it is a Wellness Wednesday. We're joined right now by Scott Campsall from Okami Kai Karate. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dan.
And Andrew Allison, who is the minister at St. Paul's Presbyterian Church in Leaskdale. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Scott.
So we are looking at, we had the news story that more information is coming out on Thursday about stage one of the reopening of the economy and reopening of really society in Ontario amid the pandemic. And Scott had come up with the idea. He said, why don't we talk to Andrew and find out what it means for the church? Because you guys are still online. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are. Yep, exclusively.
So looking ahead now, there are so many questions out there. How do you handle reopening, or at this point, is that just off the table and, a lot more research has to go into it?
Yeah, it's not realistic at this point. We really want to follow what government authorities, what medical people are saying. So, we're putting together conjecture, far-reaching ideas, but we don't know if it's. July 1st is wicked optimistic. September 1st, I still think is actually fairly optimistic. So we're gearing for a longer term game, and then if better material, better information comes and things move along swifter, we won't fight that. We'll be glad to open when we can, but we're not talking realistically in the near future.
How are decisions made? Now, is it a Presbyterian Church, the overall body that kind of gives you guys guidelines, or is it an individual church's decision?
I think that in this situation, we were following the direction of government. So one of the thresholds that our executive director said was if public schools closed, then we're closed. And very quickly, when that was announced coming into or out of the March break, we were right in stride with that. So I think largely churches have some liberty. I think maybe the Anglicans were clearer, Roman Catholics were clearer as a group or as a body, but churches in the Uxbridge area all really wanted to cooperate with the medical people, and our local medical people were really on top of things and ahead of actually what was being said provincially or nationally. And so we were quickly all on the same page.
Now, looking ahead, Are you talking about how procedures may change under the new norm? As far as, we're talking weddings, we're talking funerals, we're talking the religious service itself.
Yeah, you're right. You sit and think, when would the next time I would shake someone's hand? When would the next time I could throw a hug on somebody and do it fearlessly? And so, church has a lot of those kinds of contact and high fives and let alone passing things between people. So we're going to stretch here. It is a new normal. You're right. We're getting our heads wrapped around what would probably be in many ways some permanent change.
Well, even something like singing, because you're exhaling, you're breathing. This is something that's got to be a factor too.
Rats! I hadn't thought of that one.
Yeah. Well, because you've got the choir all standing together. I guess you could separate them by 6 feet, but they're all standing at the front of the altar.
Yeah. Our gang, we got worship teams, so they're electric guitar and their drums, and so they would be 6 feet apart. But you're touching stuff, right? You're always touching things. So it will be a different day. It's interesting for us. I'm sure every industry must be thinking to themselves, how are we going to do this? You look at the way Costco is running right now. They're doing their best, but there's still some cracks in the armor.
Well, you're still ministering right now. What do you say to somebody, at this point, and obviously anxieties are continuing to increase. Somebody turns to you and says, Andrew, why? I thought God was on our side.
That's a great question. And I do believe God is on our side. I do believe that, staring out the window at a cloudless day and the grass is turning green and, there's smiles on people's faces. At the same time, I also know that the world is a deeply fractured and broken place. And, in the Christian tradition, there's explanations for that. God did make a good earth. God is cheering for humanity. there are things that have happened that have put the planet on tilt, and so these are the sorts of things that happen. Awful things. They're awful. We don't say that this is God's plan and he's judging us or coming down hard. Christians have always believed since Jesus on the cross that God is with us in the toughest times. Great question, though, Dan. Why?
What would you call this?
8 a.m. question.
Well, yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully I had your coffee by now. But is in some ways this a revelation? I mean, and you talk about, the earth was perfect and has been perfect. We have not necessarily kept it that way. And a revelation in revealing not only what we've done to the earth, but the truth of what is at someone's, I hopefully you had two copies, but at someone's soul, and the true person is revealed in a situation like this.
Yeah, that's, you're right. The planet does seem to be recovering, right? They're seeing, would someone say dolphins in Venice or something? I certainly saw a clip from Venice. It saw clear water. It wasn't anything like that when I visited there about 4 years ago. There are people in India that can see mountain ranges they haven't seen for 30 years. But you're right. Maybe it's fun to look out and see all the problems out there. And Jesus was one of the people that said, hey, look on the inside of the cup. There's a way where we can love to judge other things, other nations, other leaders. And Jesus had this classic line about don't go trying to pick the speck out of someone else's eye when you got a log in your own. So to your point, Dan, there is a place in all of this for a little bit of introspection and just to see what kind of creatures on the inside of me, not just the lady at Costco that has 8 boxes of dish soap or something like that. It makes me think about me and my own angle, my own greed, my own pride, my own anger issues. So, yeah, good point. It is a time for contemplation, isn't it?
In some ways, too, I'm wondering, we say that God is everywhere. This is the true test. Because it's not just the church on a Sunday.
Absolutely. It wasn't ever supposed to be just on church on Sunday, and I guess that's what we're realizing. One of the things that's meant a whole bunch to us has been the ability to gather, and now we can't. And so we are asking this kind of question that you're asking, which is, what are we really about? What am I really about when what is most precious is taken from me? So I think anybody's going to ask that question, right? We all are.
Yeah. Scott, how do you feel as a parishioner?
Actually, I just sort of like even though what was just said there, like for martial artists, there's a Japanese saying, "Jikishin Kori Dojo." If your mind's correct, everywhere's the dojo. That's the thought. So where we're talking about God's everywhere. I think I've got students that are practicing in their bedrooms and they're doing martial arts in their bedroom. You're online and my karate instructor had a little post he put up on Facebook a few weeks ago, basically saying, you want to know where the cleanest room is in somebody's house, it's where they're doing Zoom. And there's fresh flowers put up and everything's really clean. And, only one room's clean. The rest of it's a massacre. But I go to YouTube on Sunday mornings and watch Andrew's sermon and Jennifer and I pray with him and so there's I think God is everywhere and from a religious standpoint for sure and you can be anywhere and pray. And you can be anywhere in worship, and you don't necessarily have to be in a church. But at the same time, when we're talking about our activities, you can do karate anywhere too. You can exercise anywhere. We've got fitness classes in the morning. You can do that too. But when it comes right down to it, our society is based on connection, and that's what we're really lacking right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing that again. Well,
and maybe we'll appreciate it even more. Hopefully, we do. Somewhere down the road. And unfortunately, we don't know how long that is going to be. Guys, thanks for this morning. And, it's such an important part of being well. We talk about the physical aspect, but the spiritual, the mental aspect of it as well. And as we've said in the past, we have to keep talking. Andrew, thanks for your time this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Scott. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
as soon as there's more information, too, about what's happening with the churches, we'll obviously pass that along. Scott, take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you again next Wednesday.
Yeah, thanks to both of you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, man.
We'll catch up again. Bye-bye. That is Andrew Allison, who is a minister at St. Paul's Presbyterian Church. And again, they continue to have conversations about what the new norm may look like. How do you minister in a church amid the current pandemic? And also Scott Campsall joining us from Akami Kai, part of Wellness Wednesday.